Today we're headed back to the track with Project Go Man Go to see if we can back up the 1050s we ran last fall. Stick around to see how we made out. And today we're headed back to what I would consider my home track. It's Beach Bend in Bowling Green, Kentucky. It's the closest quarter-mile track to me, and I've made probably hundreds of passes down that track, well familiar with it. With the process, the timers, the lanes, and all that good stuff. So I'm really going back just to validate the 1050s that we ran in this car at the Alabama International Raceway back in November last year. I'm really curious to how this car will run at a track that I'm well familiar with. So the car is still set up exactly how it was when I was in Alabama. It's got the 4-inch aluminum drive shaft in it, and good race tires and wheels. That's it. Haven't done any power adders, no tuning, no nothing. I had some people ask me about the Trinity that was mounted on the dash from my last 1050 video, and I use that for data logging. I data log every single pass at the track. It allows me to see launch RPM, if I'm getting any short-term knock retard, see what RPM the car is actually shifting at, all of that stuff, so that I can go back later and see if there's ways to make improvements just from that data log. So that's all it was used for, no tune, no nothing on this car. So some people are having a hard time believing that this car actually ran 1050s at 131 miles an hour without being tuned or modified with a pulley or something of that nature. But I assure you there's been nothing done to the car other than the drive shaft and the tires and wheels. Hey look, some viewer mail. Hey Speedy, enjoy your channel and have been following the Hellcat track videos. I'm gonna have to throw the BS flag. No way a stock Hellcat with a drive shaft and tires is running 1050s. Mine will only run 1080s at about 127 miles an hour at the track, and there's no way yours is running that much better. Come on, tell us what you've done to it, which pulley, and who's tuning. I'm happy to share a data log. Matter of fact, I'll link one in this video so those that know how to read them can take a peek at it and see that it's making stock boost and all that good stuff. No difference at all on the car other than the small changes that I've made. Now, one thing I do need to mention, the supercharger, the original one that came on the car, had the bearing issue where it started making the whining sound. A whole bunch of these have had that problem, and Dodge is changing out the superchargers under warranty. And mine was swapped out at the dealer. Supposedly there's a new manufacturer and a whole new design of the bearing going into the newer model superchargers. That's the only difference I can think of that would be something that I should mention as far as how fast the car is able to go. It made 670 rural horsepower on the dyno and about 650 foot-pounds of torque as well, and I think that's a little bit more than your average. So again, the only thing I can attribute that to is the supercharger itself. The new bearings may have freed up some horsepower by being a little bit more efficient. So with that out of the way, let's get down to the track, see if we can't run some 1050s and maybe even get lucky and hit an elusive 1040 in this car with just those small changes. Okay, so we're headed home from the track. It was packed today. It was the season opener for Test and Tune, and I think everybody and their brother showed up. I spent a lot of time waiting in the staging lanes, which is no fun, but I was still able to get 3 runs in. Normally I try to make 4, but after 3 I'd had enough and decided I'd call it a day. I ran a 1060, another 1060, and finally I got into the 1050s again. The difference between the two 1060s, which were almost the exact same run, and the 1050 was the 60 foot. I actually played with the tire pressure a little bit at Beach Bend to try to get back down where I wanted it to be. The 60 foot seemed like it was a little bit off from where it was in Alabama. And so dropping the tire pressure 2 PSI seemed to make that difference. I still want to play with the tire pressure a little bit more. I'm still figuring the car out. I've only made about 6 or 7 passes in it since I got it. So I'm going to play with the tire pressure, try to find that sweet spot of maximum grip, but still giving me a good mile an hour out of the back end. So I'm going to do that. I'm also planning to play with the transmission and suspension settings a little bit to see if those might give me some benefits. Again, it's totally stock, just going to make those changes and see if we can't get into the 1040s with the car with just tires, wheels, and a drive shaft. After we do that, well, we'll see how it goes. I might make some changes to the car then and start tuning on it or something like that. But for now, we're just going to try to go with what the car already has power-wise and just make the most of it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit subscribe in the bottom right corner and check out my website, www.speedysgarage.net. I'm going to head home now, get the car cleaned up, and get it ready for Challenger Fest, which is coming up. If you haven't checked that out, go to www.challengerfest.net or find it on Facebook. We got 2 days of private track rental at Beach Bend Raceway for plenty of test and tune and some drag racing, as well as a massive car show at the Host Hotel Holiday Inn University Plaza. Again, www.challengerfest.net. We hope to see you there.